Hey, it's Jordan with TYT Politics. Revolution is in the air. The Draft Bernie panel just ended. You see it's clearing out now, so hopefully we'll get a few people. It was kind of a hour and a half, 2 hour round robin of everything progressive, everything that the progressive movement would need to do to mount a serious third party. There was actually talk about labor unions and how important that is, which I like to hear. There was discussion on ending the war machine, which I think is very important. There was also, a little drama in the crowd, which is kind of nice at a town hall.
The event page for this event states, and it was also paraphrased by Nick on the stage, that we have, this is Sanders' quote, "We have already won the battle of ideas." And then it also follows by noting that Republicans are in office in the White House, they're in office in Congress. What kind of a victory is that, and it has been won, if that is the result? And why is this the result of the so-called battle of ideas? I think that the question of what Sanders did during the election, he purposefully stated on stage with you, Mr. West, that he was running to encourage support for the Democratic Party. That was the purpose of his campaign. And then when he wrapped up his campaign in the primary, however undemocratically it all resulted in, he supported Clinton. And then he led people to Trump. And the role of socialist alternative, the role of the Green Party in doing that has also been to encourage illusions during Sanders' run in the primaries. Now we have a situation where Trump is in office. There are illusions in the Democratic Party, and we're saying you're making excuses about it and saying that they won't self-examine. Well, I think that the individuals here who have made, and the organizations are here that have made excuses to promote illusions in Sanders and now are trying to draft him for a new party. What are they trying to do? Have it happen again?
There was some real organic outcry in the crowd over some things, which was nice. Obviously, you had Jimmy Dore, Cornel West, Shama Sawant from Seattle, and Nick Brana. I also thought a really important moment was when they said, we'll criticize Bernie if we have to. Bernie, this is not, this Draft Bernie movement is not to bow down to Bernie Sanders. They are going to hold him accountable as well.
As much as I love my dear brother Bernie Sanders, and I'm deeply disappointed he didn't have somebody there to receive those signatures. I don't mind disagreeing with my brother, but on a spiritual and a moral level, if you don't have somebody there to acknowledge the people who work so hard day in and day out just to receive the signatures, we have questions for you. We have questions for you. And it's not a matter of trashing Brother Bernie. It's not a matter of demeaning Brother Bernie. He must be accountable and answerable like anybody else, including ourselves.
I was in panels all day today. There were other panels about reforming the Democratic Party. Should they do that? Should they not? I think you got the idea. They don't want to reform the Democratic Party. The only way politicians do the right thing is if you light a fire under their anuses. Yeah. That's it. They're spineless, most of them. That's why Bernie Sanders was such a rare thing, because he's been saying the same thing for 40 years and he means it. And by the way, Democrats, the Republicans are just as bad. It's just they're not pretending to be the party of the working people. The Democrats are. There was panels on ending the war machine. There was panels on fighting the corporate media. There was panels on single payer. How do we get that? A lot of progressive talk, and it was very, very enlightening. I'm going to talk to some people who are here. This young man, I've seen him at Black Lives Matter protests in New York City, and you were talking and asking a question. First off, what do you think of the panel, the conference? What do you expect, and what'd you hear tonight?
Well, I think, one, the panel's great. I mean, if you have Cornel West up there, Congressman Swan up there, it's always going to be good. I think now we're kind of all getting used to each other, and so we're kind of having these discussions. But really why I came here was to explore, like, the third-party option. Like, I'm from New York, where you have, like, the political machine, and so when you talk to the average person, not even just the average black person, if you're going to talk to them about policies, progressive policies, or socialist policies, the first thing they're going to ask you is, are you a Democrat? Mm-hmm. So I think it's time for us to break out of that abusive relationship that we have with Democrats, in which they always smack us around, tell us to either fall in line or get out, and like we keep running back to each other. So I came out here personally, you know, some of my people from my organization also want to come out here as well and explore the idea of like, okay, what are some different pathways we can go? I'm kind of sold on the fact that we kind of need a new party, a new way of thinking, an alternative outside of the two-party system.
Man, I'm 21, and for the few years that I've been doing stuff, I mean, I got my start with Rikers Island, and I think Rikers Island is the biggest like statue to white supremacy in the North. And I feel like New York is one of the most, in the North, is one of the most hypocritical places in America, in which they use the boogeyman of Republican and Southern racism to not address like the new Jim Crow that we're perpetually living in up in the North. So I like to say this, in my community, the only people that I've ever fought against in my young life have been Democrats. You know, I've never fought against a Republican in my entire life. And so there's a lot of different reasons why that might be. You know, the idea of like American exceptionalism, the idea that, you know, we're now colorblind. But then also, I think there's also this idea that Black people also aren't necessarily within the working class. Like those are two different distinctions that we kind of make on the left. You know, totally disrespect to people like A. Philip Randolph and a lot of the Black communist struggles, the Black socialist struggles. And so my question would be, with like the new consciousness waking up in like my generation, because I think there's a different split, like how do you, with a third party, like what is the role of like young Black people within that struggle?
Like that's why I wanted to ask my question is like we don't connect those along like because of identity politics, like people don't connect that those are like Black struggles as well. Like when you talk about 53 cents on the dollar going to the corporate war machine, well, Black people don't really have a lot of like spending power or buying power to begin with. When you talk about like imperialism, right? Like you talk about the touchdown of like democracies, right? You look at Black people in this position that we are in, like we're like the bottom of the democracy institutions here in America. We're at the bottom of like economic institutions here in America. And then that also plays a role in how we deal with other institutions outside of America and American imperialism. So it's like also connecting that. Like when you talk about like campaign finance, when you talk about the fact that we don't have an independent media, that also hurts people that look like me. I think it's also time for us in that workshops to like connect that. Like, okay, we can all come together. When you talk about like environmental like racism, that's also a big thing. You talk about Hurricane Harvey, you talk about Hurricane Irma, you talk about Flint, Michigan, you talk about DAPL. Those are things that we can also connect to a broader struggle to against like the corporates that take advantage of people and perpetuate these cycles as well.
You and I were actually standing next to each other while this panel was going on. What were your initial thoughts of the conversation?
Dude, you said it. It went from fun, light, it went from inspiring to like dirty, like angry, right? You know, and I understand people pissed off. Look, this was my thing. I'm going to see what Bernie's going to do with this. But after this, Jordan, it's over. It's like, that's it. Gloves are totally off. But I wanted to give him this opportunity. Look, we got a lot of time before 2018. A lot of time before 2020. So we could have gave him a couple months to see, is he going to come around or is he going to keep saying, go become a Democrat? So like, this is it. He wasn't in the office, so we don't know. But in a couple of days, I think we're going to know. And if he just ignores us, that's his answer. Right. And we move the fuck on. Yeah. That's it. And we call him out like we would anybody else. Yeah. That's what I'm going to do. What do you think, man?
Well, I also thought, based on what the conversation was, they were talking a lot about not just the Democratic Party, but really starting to aggressively, not violently, but aggressively taking on the corporate state. So Shama Sawant was talking about, no, like we can't wait. With climate change, we need to take public ownership of oil companies. And that's, to most people, very radical, but in the times we're in, if you're looking at the track of Hurricane Irma, it's actually looking like it's gonna hit where I went to college really bad, Tampa, Florida. So, yeah, I mean, I think this, to me, I've always been, I don't give a shit what works, as long as it works. Right. I think we need to go the quickest way to get progressive W's on the board. And I think that, to me, what's good about this is whether Bernie does it or doesn't do it, right. It doesn't seem like these people it doesn't seem like they're baking their whole cake on Bernie. It seems like if he doesn't do it, there's now an infrastructure.
Jordan, people act like they don't even know the name. It was Draft Bernie for a People's Party. Right. It wasn't just Draft Bernie, we shortened it, but it's really about the party, and the party will continue. And we're going to have like liquor and weed and dancing. We're going to have we're going to have a real party going, guys. So that's what I'm about. That's what, I think this whole gathering is about like convergence. I don't care if you're Democratic Socialist or Socialist Alternative or Republican Democrat, it doesn't matter. We come together on issues and we just move forward. That's what we need, right? So the issues haven't gone anywhere, so why are people like bailing? I don't get it. Also, I said this yesterday, I'm gonna say it again because I think it's a hot line. Bernie Sanders was the Steph Curry of politics. If you can get that guy, you get that guy. Now people are saying you shouldn't get that guy, they must want to lose. So that if he's available, you try to get him. I mean, this is the game of our lives.
I prefer LeBron James, but that's fine.
Bron. Well, Steph Curry's the future. But you get my point. So like, I'm hearing the criticism. We always hear about something.
Well,
at the end of the day, I think we know what to do now.